Alright everybody, welcome to Cappuccino Cunnilingus episode number 28, back again for November's edition of the Geek News Podcast. Joining me is the owner of Famous Faces and Funnies here in Melbourne, Florida, Mr. Rick Shea.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So right off the bat, let's jump right into it. Doctor Strange came out last week. We were at the theater. I got to sit down and watch the movie, and I was completely blown away. I really liked Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. He's a wonderful actor, just with everything he does, but I feel like this role was meant for him to play.
Right.
I had originally said on a Facebook post, I saw it a year ago, like
right.
in the timeline thing that they do.
Yeah.
I wrote something, I looked at it again, I was just like, no, I was totally wrong.
Right.
I was so wrong.
Gotcha.
But I'm glad that, you know, everything worked out, and overall it's a really good movie. Like, for me, I know there's a lot of like critical aspects of it that people will disagree on, but for me it was up there with Suicide Squad with how good it was.
Right.
And just, I mean, when you look at the other comic book movies that came out this year, like Deadpool and Civil War and X-Men Apocalypse,
right,
you know, that's some healthy competition, but if you're talking that your best two movies were a B-list team of supervillains and a supernatural sorcerer,
right,
that is just now getting some recognition within, you know, that universe, you know, you're not talking about the third movie in a franchise. You're not talking about a fan favorite. You're talking, you know, two out-of-the-box things that, you know, not a lot of people were clamoring for, but when they saw it, they were like, all right, yeah, we wanted this.
Right.
We didn't know we wanted it, but we wanted it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, same thing. I thought Doctor Strange was fantastic. Might be right there with my favorite movie. Same thing with Suicide Squad. I really enjoyed a lot more than your average fan. I think those Doctor Strange might be, you know, either the first or second best comic movie this year. So I did enjoy Civil War and Deadpool and all the other comic movies, of course. But overall, Doctor Strange is very interesting, and it's cool that Marvel has really branched out last few years with Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange opening up a whole new side of the Marvel universe. So it's not just, hey, look, here's yet another, you know, sequel to, don't get me wrong, they've overall done more good than bad, but it's awesome that they can branch out and make the Doctor Strange in the movie as interesting as he's ever been in the comics, so, or maybe more so. And yeah, the cast was phenomenal, did a great job, so I was very happy with it as well.
There was a lot of backlash, you know, with casting when it originally came out, with Tilda Swinton being the Ancient One. Yeah. They explained why she was the Ancient One, and I feel like that was more than enough acceptable for the way they did it.
Right.
You know, and we're going to do spoilers anyway. Basically explaining that she's a 13th century Celtic woman that, you know, came to essentially Shangri-La and, you know, basically took over and learned the mystic arts and became the Sorcerer Supreme. At that point, it felt like, you know, it didn't feel forced that they had this woman take on that role. It felt like the right thing to do, and they incorporated it well into the overall story. I
thought it worked as well. Yeah, I thought she did a great job, and it's so funny seeing the last few years, like seeing some of the actors and actresses that have come into the Marvel Universe, and you never in a million years would think, oh yeah, here's someone that's going to play someone, you know, from the comics. But it's awesome that she did a great job and really, really just made the role, you know, as interesting as that character's ever been, and then some. So it was definitely good casting all around, and just an awesome ensemble cast that threw together a fantastic movie, so I was very, very happy with it.
Now, I did have some discrepancies with it, just from like a fan standpoint and from a continuity standpoint. You know, the way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is set up, the 6 Infinity Stones that, you know, we're supposed to keep an eye out for are all supposed to be in different places in the universe.
Exactly.
If what I'm assuming to be true from, you know, not having anything explained to me, it looks like 2 of them were on Earth at the same time.
Yeah.
Without, you know, I guess you can say there was some guarding of one and some guarding of the other, but you know, you never wanted to put those 2 in the same either dimension or same location in the universe, because then that's two going to some person.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I do think, before too long we'll end up seeing way too many being, similar enough and within reach of Thanos, obviously. That's what we're building up to. But but yeah, it is interesting. I think it's cool that they're kind of expanding slowly and didn't just shove it all in. Oh, look, we need to shove this in the first 20 minutes of the Infinity movie and throw these last 3 or 4 stones in there. So it's cool that it's been a slow,
kind of like how they
build.
did in the first Avengers movie,
Right.
with trying to keep all those characters compacted into one thing.
Right. Yeah. I think overall, yeah, Marvel definitely has a good handle on bringing these characters out to a larger audience. And again, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think the funny thing about comic movies is the new X-Men movie or the new Spider-Man movie or Avengers doesn't really move the needle and help us sell any extra comics, even though Marvel, sure enough, the week of or the week before puts out a new number one,
yeah.
Tying directly into it, where the team looks exactly like the movie team almost every time. Yet, and of course, they had a new Doctor Strange number 1 and a few one-shots and some other stuff right out before, and even like a new story arc starting on the main book. But the main thing is sure enough, though, Doctor Strange brought a few people in, and they checked out Doctor Strange: The Oath, which is probably my favorite Doctor Strange story by Brian K. Vaughan, and some other stuff, which is funny because like I said, the less people that know it's a comic or know the character, we seem to sell more of it. So things like Doctor Strange or Guardians of the Galaxy seem to move more copies for us than the average new X-Men or Avengers movie or even Batman and Superman, where everyone already knows those characters come from the comics. So yeah, it's pretty funny how that works out.
Yeah, I'm a little thrown aback by how much we see in the movies now, especially with some people are saying an oversaturation of what we're seeing in a year.
Right.
This year we had 6
It's insane. Yeah.
6 comic book movies,
Right.
so one every 2 months.
Yeah.
And we're going to have 3 from the same studio next year,
Yeah.
2 from another, and 1 from a third, possibly.
Right. I mean, eventually it'll hit oversaturation, and don't get me wrong, if they were doing, 2 X-Men movies a year and 2 Spider-Man and 4 Avengers movies a year or whatever, but at the same time, we waited, decades and decades for these characters to get to the big screen. I mean, and it's amazing that almost all of the biggest blockbuster movies, when Guardians of the Galaxy comes out and is the biggest movie of the entire year, and before it comes out, people go, who are these characters? What in the world? It's insane. But sure enough, Marvel and and DC to a lesser degree have done a fantastic job of just getting these characters out, picking usually the right directors, creators, actors, and everything, and done a fantastic job with it. So. The people freaking out going, do we really need another superhero movie? It's like, are you kidding me? There's 400 romantic comedies a year and 600 action movies released a year. It's like, it's going to be okay. If you don't want to watch them, don't watch them. No one's forcing you to go to the theater, but you better believe anytime you go to a comic movie opening weekend, that's going to be the big thing, and they almost always hit or defeat what they are expected to do. So sure enough, it could be the smallest comic movie, and it's still going to have a pretty successful box office. So it's awesome that this stuff's getting out to a bigger audience. Stuff that the geeks have enjoyed for years, seeing it hit such a bigger audience, where the best shows on TV and the biggest movies are mostly coming from this genre that for the longest time was ignored as, oh, this tiny fringe element wants to read about these characters. Sure enough, now it's the most mainstream thing ever. So it's worked out pretty well.
Well, that comes from, I would say, over time, it just became easier to do special effects, to be able to bring these things to life, not only on the big screen but the small screen as well.
Right.
We are seeing on TV shows right now The Flash,
right? Oh,
and
yeah.
how well they're putting together his zooping in and out of rooms,
right.
And on Gotham we're seeing the transformations with the Mad Hatter and Alice's blood and
right.
stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Going into the Macroverse and Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
If I was tripping on mushrooms,
right, yeah.
that would have been the greatest experience of my life.
Right, yeah, I've definitely seen some Facebook posts that were like, I need to go back and see this in a different state. And
yeah.
I was like, okay, so it's pretty wild. But Yeah, it's insane. It's definitely something, 20 years ago we couldn't have pulled off. The movies would have looked terrible with the special effects then compared to what it looks like now. And the fact that your average TV show, I mean, the budget for that or for your average movie is just so phenomenal what they can do with today's technology so easily compared to what it used to be. I mean, it's amazing that what is in a director's imagination is able to be what the audience finally sees in the final product, and it's absolutely incredible that we're able to see this phenomenal new batch of movies and TV shows that just dazzle us every week. So.
Speaking of TV shows, huge news from DC that came out this week.
Right.
I think it was Monday night. They announced that Young Justice Season 3 is coming.
Very cool, yeah. I know Young Justice Season 2 was infinitely, like, the first one was well received, but number 2, people were like, oh my god, this should be the DC movie universe going forward, this is amazing, so...
Did you watch it?
Yeah,
okay.
It took a while, but I finally got to it, and I thought Young Justice Season 2 did a great job of kind of, moving the series forward almost better than probably any other cartoon I can think of. So I'm very curious to see where it went. It's such a shame that a show that was so well received, I guess it just came down to it where they didn't sell a lot of toys, it sounded like, was the reason it was canceled. And it was definitely one of those things where for years, even after, people come in and go, oh, do you have Young Justice comics? Do you have Young Justice toys? Do you have, so it definitely still has its fan base, even with the show going away for years, but it's awesome that they're finally bringing back and doing another season.
Do you see anything happening, especially now Jeff Johns in charge of a lot of stuff over at DC now?
Right.
Do you see them picking up with anything from Rebirth with it? Because the way they left off the end of Season 2 with Wally going into the Speed Force, it feels like a lot of, his story from Rebirth and, being taken into the Speed Force is going to affect... Season 3.
Yeah, I mean, having it is, on one hand, I wish I could get back to Jeff Johns writing 4 or 5 comics a month. I think if that happened, I'd be rich, but and it'd be a great thing for the comic industry. But I'm glad to see he's more involved more directly in co-writing the Batman movie with Ben Affleck and having so much to do with the day-to-day of the TV shows and movies and stuff like that going forward. That's great. I can't think of someone that has a better love and a better idea to keep fresh storytelling going on. He's been writing for DC for almost 20 years now, and just everything he's written is just gold. I mean, the guy's done a phenomenal job. He hasn't really had it done yet, and I'm excited about getting his work out to a bigger audience because he definitely deserves it. Jeff Johns is a guy that he actually went to film school with one of my customers from back in the day, in the late 90s. He went to film school in California, and this guy's like, oh man, keep an eye on this guy. He's writing Stars and Stripes, this new book based on, character based on his sister. And sure enough, Jeff Johns, watching him grow from the guy who was writing Flash and wrote, in my opinion, the best Flash stories ever with Wally West, and a lot of those characters and villains have become part of the Flash mythos that we've seen on TV the last few years, and he really expanded the Rogues Gallery into one of the best Rogues Galleries in comics. But Jeff Johns, hands down, I think he'll do a great job with making sure Young Justice continues to catch an all-encompassing audience that's exciting for adults and for kids, and not be too crazy where it's not kid friendly, but at the same time keeping adults' attention as well. So, if there's anyone that'll definitely make sure it stays on the right track and more of what you loved in Season 2 and probably even better, Jeff Johns, I'm glad he's involved with the day-to-day of the DC TV and movie stuff.
Now, I didn't get to watch it this week, but Gotham.
Right.
Did we have a new episode this week? Or
I think there was a new one this week, and I'm behind as well. Like, I just finished the Mad Hatter arc, I guess, so I'm 1, maybe even 2 behind it. But so far the season has just been awesome. The actor playing Mad Hatter's done a phenomenal job, coming over from Walking Dead, where he was the leader of the Wolves. He was great in that. And he's really, really... I was a little afraid when it seemed like, oh man, is this story going to drag on? But no, they've done an awesome job. He definitely got more and more vile and, put some pretty tough decisions out there for Jim Gordon. So, this season of Gotham, I'm loving it. I mean, that's still, I think, the most underrated of the comic book shows. I wish more people who watched the first few episodes of the first season, or even the whole first season, and which was okay, I wish they'd given another chance with the second or third season, because to me, Gotham
picked up infinitely.
So much. I mean, I can't think of another show in the last 20 years that's had as much of an improvement from Season 1 to Season 2. And I can really only compare it to Buffy, where season 1 wasn't bad. It was cute and interesting, but season 2 and on, we're like, oh my god, this is a whole other level. And Gotham did the same thing. They have continued to deliver, and just some of the moments where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe that character made that decision. It's pretty interesting, and it's done a great job. There's moments where it's a little kitschy and crazy and goofy, but overall, yeah, they've done an awesome job.
When you have characters like the Penguin
Right.
and the Riddler teaming up, essentially,
exactly. Oh, they're great together,
need
man. Yeah.
you need to have that campiness with it.
Of course, right? Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a nod to the Batman '60s show, which is awesome, without being. I wouldn't want to watch a show that's literally, as goofy as the '60s one where Batman's running around going, "Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb," or "I have my bat shark repellent," But at the same time, it's awesome to see some silly kind of moments that pay a little attention to, what came in the giant, long time Batman mythos that's been around for so long. And they've added, I think Gotham is just hands down the most underrated of all the nerdy shows on TV. So if you gave up with after season 1 or a few episodes of season 1, give it a shot. Just skip right into season 2 or season 3. It's been awesome, and I'm always looking forward to seeing what's happening next in there. So yeah, I really, really love the show, and they've done a great job with it.
And you said you were behind. Have you caught up to the point where do you care about spoilers at all?
No, I don't mind.
Have you caught up to the point where Penguin is coming to terms with I think I'm in love with the Riddler?
Oh yeah, that's totally, yeah, I've been there. I mean, it's pretty wild. I mean, on one hand, I think it works. It's interesting. I won't say it's something I would have necessarily seen coming for the character, but who knows? I mean, watching someone that has kind of had his back the whole time, it's been interesting. So watching the relationships in that show develop in and out, where characters get along and then don't, and then are bitter enemies and whatever, I think they've done a great job with it, and just having such a giant ensemble cast, they've done a wonderful job of keeping track and not making it where it's just the Jim Gordon show or just the Harvey Bullock show or whatever. And they've done a great job kind of fleshing out. Yeah, Penguin is definitely the breakout character that, who in a million years thought that would be the favorite character of the show. But that actor's just done an exceptional job, and I've really enjoyed his story throughout and where it's gone, and it's taken some twists and turns I never could have predicted. But yeah, Penguin and Riddler. Penguin kind of being in love with Riddler, I think it's kind of interesting that, it's something that we haven't seen from the comics, but it works. I mean, so far, within the context of the show, it's working out pretty good, so.
Yeah, they've built that bond between them ever since they ran across each other in the woods.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about, especially with Nigma, a character who hasn't necessarily been the best with relationships.
Right,
but he's got a good heart in him. He's a little brainy at times, more than he needs to be, but he has always had faith in Oswald Cobblepot ever since he met him. And I feel like that is honorable in a sense, to be able to maintain that friendship and, even go out of your way to, make sure an election isn't rigged for your friend, making sure that he knows that the people actually like him. He's a true leader and actually has the ability to make the change that he wanted to in that city.
Right.
That kind of friendship. And, even up to now with, him going on a date with, somebody from outside of everything.
Right.
He's fallen in love again with riddles in a sense. You can see, what he was originally was just a smart-ass guy who worked with the police department. Now he's actually becoming more criminal. He's becoming more brainy. He's falling in love with what he originally thought he was going to be.
True. Yeah, I think it's good. I think they've done a great job of developing him over 3 seasons where he wasn't. I mean, that's the thing, is if the show literally has every major Batman villain fixed and set by the end of season 1 or 2, it's like, where else is this going to go? So, and I love that they haven't, they've kind of hinted at a Joker type thing and then kind of took it away and didn't potentially inspiring the next Joker or whatever, but not they're smart enough to be slowly building up a rogues gallery, but not having it to the point where there's no villains left by the time we see Batman, which at this rate, I don't think we're seeing Batman anytime soon, but it's cool seeing Bruce Wayne's evolution. Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think it'll go full Smallville 10 years or whatever, but at the same time, I think it's very, very much on the right path of not revealing too much too fast and slowly but surely having character dynamics that fit, where there's characters that are Bruce's age and some other stuff. I know obviously there's a lot of controversy over the Poison Ivy character.
But they made it work.
It did make sense, right?
sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still weird to have like, here's some, some some early 20s looking girl that's got the mind of a 13-year-old or whatever, and then it's kind of twisted, but at least it's. I get what they're going for, so it's interesting. With we'll see where it goes.
It would make sense that in a 5-year time,
right.
when she's, I don't know if she would take the name Pamela Isley yet, but like
right.
in 5 years' time, she'd be 18 years old.
Right. Yeah.
She'd be, raging with hormones, acting
right.
out rashly, making really weird decisions.
Right.
It would make sense for that supervillain to exist.
Right. Yeah, true. I mean, closer to, yeah, definitely. So it's interesting. They've done a great job on the Gotham show of having a great cast and just doing the right amount with it. I really was a little worried when I was like, oh man, this Mad Hatter thing's going to go on for 6 or 7 episodes, 7 or 8 episodes. But no, they've done a great job and just so far juggled just the right amount of everything. I think I'm in the minority. I love Barbara Keene's character. I know a lot of people are kind of
I don't know where she's going. Like, yeah, I don't know where that character's going or who she is.
Yeah, she was phenomenal. I thought in season 2, just the whole even the end of season 1 where she kind of went down a dark path, and I think it works that. They've done a great job with her, and I love that character. I think that actress is great. She's done an awesome job, and I know a lot of the internet's like, oh, get rid of this damn character, but not for me. I think it's worked, and they found ways to weave her into the story without being okay. She obviously doesn't belong, and they don't know what to do with her. So for me, I think she's definitely more interesting character than she gets credit for via the internet. So
she's a better Fish Mooney from season 1.
Right? Yeah, true. So yeah, I think it's interesting her whole story, and just the other characters surrounding her and everything, and happy to see where it goes with her in the club and everything. So cool.
Flash has been pretty interesting lately.
Oh yeah.
With Flashpoint going on and
right.
all the changes we've seen. I'm really enjoying Tom Felton as the new metahuman CSI.
Right, yeah.
He's phenomenal.
He's interesting. It's funny to have a character that obviously doesn't get along with your main character, but overall they've done a great job with the cast on that. The Flashpoint thing slowly revealing some things here and there. Killer Frost actually having her powers and kind of still keeping it secret from the other characters is interesting as it's gradually going on. So, but obviously they're starting to figure out that wait a minute, it wasn't our machine that did this. This is how this happened. So what does that mean? So Flash has done a great job with it so far. I was a little worried when the Flashpoint thing seemed to be, I don't know, kind of handled so quick. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be like 10 episodes over that universe or anything, but I would have been okay with 2 or 3. But it's cool seeing the effects of that, the small thing, even like moving over to Arrow and like changing something small over there, but something significant. So it's they've done a great job. Just the CW universe, DC characters doing an excellent job. We're very, very happy with how it's gone so far. So Flash still kind of the high point, I think, of all 4 shows. But yeah, I've definitely enjoyed everything CW's doing as far as all the comic book shows. So it's really like I said, a golden age of like fantastic TV shows that I can't get enough of.
My favorite thing so far with Flashpoint has been all the Barry fucking the timeline memes that I've seen.
Right.
It's like when they're in the diner and his dad's holding the mug, and he's like, "All right, smash."
Right.
You see the mug?
Yeah.
You see this little crack in it? Barry's like, I'm going to stick my dick in it.
Right?
He's like, no, Barry, no. He's like, I'm going to fuck it. This is the timeline. Right. No.
That's funny. Yeah, they've done an awesome job, and it's funny how much seeing the internet react to anything like that. But yeah, it's sure enough. It's
and the actors getting in on it too.
Nice.
Like Willa Holland, she plays Thea.
Right.
She had posted a picture of all the Flaro crew on a plane.
Yeah.
And behind her, like across the aisle, is David Ramsey and Grant Gustin, sitting right in front of each other.
Sure.
And Grant's got a smile, and he's like this, and David Ramsey's kind of like looking over, like, "Huh, you taking a picture?"
Right.
And caption is, "Look at Barry getting ready to fuck the timeline again."
Right. Yeah.
It's like, oh my god!
Awesome.
Like the fact that the cast and
Right.
everybody is taking advantage of having fun with it. Like
Right.
that's what I love to see.
Oh, yeah.
Is not only fans being involved and happy, but cast and crew too.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, and that's
astonishing.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the other thing about these shows. It just seems like all the lead actors have done an incredible job. I mean, they couldn't have hit the jackpot any bigger than they did, just as far as like Arrow and Flash, where you see so many things where they're so great about interacting with fans, not just at conventions, but even outside of that, where you're just seeing Arrow. There's like oh hey, this guy did a video for this 13-year-old girl's video, like birthday or whatever, and it's like, wow, what other kind of actor is going to be like, oh yeah, I'll take the time. Someone wrote me and asked if I could film something for their daughter's birthday, so I made a cool 5-minute video. It's like, that's going to be something that girl will remember the rest of her life, and everyone that saw it, it's super, super cool. So DC and CW hit the jackpot with really just people that go above and beyond and show an appreciation for their fans you don't really see anywhere else. I mean, that's one of the coolest things about like the comic industry is how accessible your average creator is, and it's kind of funny on last few years how much social media has branched out, where you can just send a tweet to your favorite celebrity or whatever, and whether they actually read it or not is another story, but
and then respond back too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's the cool thing is we see more and more of that with these people realizing, hey man, this isn't just like, oh, I guess I'll watch this show. This is something the fandom is so intense for this. Sometimes a little too intense,
Yeah.
Seeing some tumblers here and there and otherwise, but it's definitely insane where the actors have gone above and beyond to show how much they appreciate the fan base and realize that they wouldn't be anywhere without people really getting involved with these shows. So it's awesome to see them interact and do things back for their fans. That's awesome, and makes me even more happy to see that they've got the right people for that are really, I know as cheesy as it sounds, they're like heroes in real life too. I mean, not, they're not exactly saving lives, but it's just they're doing a bunch of cool stuff interacting with fans that
they're doing the little things that matter.
Exactly, which is awesome. So I always appreciate the hell out of that. I mean, any celebrity is going to get a ton of points for me for really just treating their fan base right, and it's certainly appreciated that that they got just the right people for these shows. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Have you been watching Supergirl this season?
Oh yeah, same thing. Yes, I've enjoyed the hell out of that too. It's they've done an awesome job. I love the expanding cast, and it was all the very, very happy with Linda Carter as the president. Awesome.
She did wonderful. I'm very
phenomenal.
glad they brought her in.
Oh yeah, so it's definitely good. I'm happy to see Mon-El. I'm a big Legion of Superheroes fan. Other than Teen Titans, that's my second favorite superhero group. So Mon-El is an interesting addition that. For a long time in the DC universe, they had him in present day when he had a book called Valor way back in like 92, 93, tied into Eclipso, his story and everything. And but yeah, sure enough, they've done a great job on the cast. The whole like superhero or the alien bar is a cool little nod to some things we've seen both in the DC and Marvel universe in the comics, where these people can go and hide on their own and be safe or relatively safe. So yeah, they've done an awesome job, really, really expanding a great cast, and obviously there's a subtraction or two as they move from where they're filming to, I think, over to Canada, I believe. But sure enough, yeah, the Supergirl, I've been very, very happy with that so far this season.
He should be wrapping up his filming, I think, either today or tomorrow. Kevin Smith's been doing an episode of Supergirl this year.
Yeah, cool.
He got a chance to work with Jason Mewes last year in an episode of Flash. Mm-hmm. This time around, he's working with his daughter Harley on an episode of Supergirl.
Very good.
So I'm really excited to see, basically a mini Yoga Hosers reunion happen in Supergirl.
Do you know who she's playing? Is she like the main villain of the thing, or not?
I think it's
maybe
just
a
like
tiny little cameo thing.
Yeah,
like
it's a tiny,
right?
It's a tiny little cameo, most likely.
Cool. That's pretty awesome.
But they posted a picture of her to his Instagram.
Right.
And do you remember the old picture of The Rock when it's like almost like a school photo where he's like got his arm over here.
Right.
He's wearing the fanny pack. Yeah. He's got the haircut.
Yeah. Right.
She basically is cosplaying him in the photo
oh my God.
in the episode.
Right, pretty funny.
So it's a giant just inception of everything happening, and
cool.
that's something that Kevin Smith would do, and
Very
you know,
good.
being the person that he is, I'm sure that, you know, it wasn't just his idea. I'm sure
Right.
everybody was just like, if you want to do that, sure.
Yeah, gotcha. I know.
Let's do it.
I know Kevin Smith keeps talking. And there's been a lot of talk about adding a character he created, added to his fantastic Green Arrow run. I know he's talked about adding onomatopoeia to.
They said all he has to do is finish his book, and they'll
Right.
let him do Arrow.
That'd be awesome. Yeah,
Just needs to finish his book.
Right, exactly. So yeah, he definitely his Green Arrow run I thought was awesome. It actually, unlike most of his other stuff, it actually came out when it was supposed to, because I think he had all 15 or 13 of 15 issues in the can before they even started shipping it. And yeah, just Quiver and then the second arc. Now they have it all as one big book with all 15 issues for like $30, which is a steal. But yeah, Kevin Smith's run on Green Arrow did a great job, and then. I remember at the time going, oh, who's this poor sucker that's got to follow Kevin Smith? And it ended up being Brad Meltzer, who also phenomenal. I mean, he floored me with that Arrow Archer's Quest, which was, oh my God, well, again, might be my favorite.
Brad also did Identity Crisis, right?
Yeah, where Identity Crisis is one of my favorite, is my third favorite book of all time, comic of all time, right behind Why the Last Man and Watchmen. So that's, I think, the bravest thing anyone's ever done in the DC or Marvel universe, and just definitely one of those books that just every issue, we were selling hundreds of copies. We had people calling going, is issue 6 out yet? They didn't even need to say the titles. We were like, nope, it's November 15th, it'll be out, you know, because it got hundreds of people reading and loving it and just talking about this book that like we hadn't seen in years. So, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool that yeah, I think Onomatopoeia will be a great addition to the Arrow and CW DC universe. So it'll be cool that he'll be able to introduce a character he put into the comics, and yeah, should be a cool addition to the show.
And it's a practical character too. Like
Right.
there's no, I wouldn't say there's no real special effect other than, you know, having to be proficient in movement and martial arts,
Right.
in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, the character is essentially just making onomatopoeia noises.
Right. Yeah.
So
It is interesting. Yeah. It works.
just having that almost League of Assassins movement
Right. Sure.
and the ability to fight like that would probably be the only thing that would, you know, necessarily make or break somebody being cast in that role.
Right. Yeah. So.
And then Legends of Tomorrow has been alright. I wasn't a huge fan of them killing Captain Cold last season.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I feel like him dying and now Rip leaving, it feels like they got rid of two really dynamic characters.
Right.
And they got rid of Hawkman, Hawkgirl. They basically left the core of the team, but
Right.
without the dynamic characters.
Right.
They're letting the other characters breathe a little bit, but I don't see it going anywhere. Like even with the introduction of Citizen Steel and the old Vixen,
Right.
I don't think that there's enough wow to keep it interesting. I hope that it gets more interesting, but I don't see it keeping me interested.
I think it'll pick up. I'm a little biased. Like I probably enjoyed Legends of Tomorrow season 1 more than most, but for me, I love that ragtag kind of team thrown together. I thought it's awesome that they had the JSA. That you know, in the end of the first and the second episode was awesome. So that was certainly cool to see all those characters. I love that just anything can happen as they're jumping all around time into the, you know, past and into the future and then around the present and stuff like that. I do think, even though it is Captain Cold is definitely one of those characters that grew on me quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I think if you just kill the character no one gives a crap about, you know, it's kind of like, oh well, you can only, hey, no one likes this character, let's get him out of here. I think it makes for boring TV. So every once in a while you got to kill someone and you're like, damn it, you know. Granted, it's cool to see him in the flashbacks on Flash and stuff like that, and it wouldn't be a shock if that show about time travel, you know, finds a way to have him back, whether it's a regular cast member, at least a slightly recurring.
He's got it in his contract to be a regular character, but I think
he's signed throughout the whole like universe, I guess, of all the different things. So one way or another, I think we'll see more of him more often than not. And I really hope they would bring. Like that would have been, for me, I would be, I don't think it's the plan, but I would love it if they just turn around on Flash and go, oh look, because of a Flashpoint thing,
he's
even
here.
though he's here, it doesn't affect these people outside of time because they're outside of time and their experiences are their experiences. But
Exactly.
sure, for the reality as Barry and his group know it, oh look, the Rogues are together and suddenly here's Captain Cold again. How can you have the Rogues without Captain Cold? So I think it'll be awesome if they do have that. That'd be a nice surprise if we get to that at the mid-season finale or something. That'd be a cool thing. So yeah, so we'll see where it goes. But
Invasion is going to be the mid-season finale.
oh, that's right,
with the
big
Dominators.
crossover. Yeah, so that's pretty wild. It's cool that so many different things are going on. So yeah, it's definitely pretty cool. But yeah, they've done an awesome job. I'm definitely very happy with. Definitely very happy with the whole dynamic and all the shows, and yeah, I think they've done a great job. So, also, yeah, Arrow, very very happy with Arrow this season. I think it's
picking up
much better
like
than season 3 and 4. Yeah, season 3 and 4 kind of lost some people, and I understand. And I think if you gave a shot to Arrow season 5, I think you'd be impressed. It's definitely interesting, and for a group of characters that you'd never in a million years go, man, this is a group of characters I can't wait to see on TV.
Who would have ever thought Ragman would be a good character?
Exactly, yeah, Ragman. I mean, Wild Dog, like Jared who works here is Wild Dog. He was so excited when I was like, he's the one Wild Dog fan in the world. I mean, I don't know a whole lot of them, but it's cool that they've got such a good mix of vigilante characters and some other ones coming up. They're slowly but surely building into an interesting thing. Prometheus is really cool. Is another awesome character that's had a pretty good history with Green Arrow and the Green Arrow characters and stuff like that. So yeah, so hats off, man. They're definitely rebuilding Arrow into a better show again, which is good.
Now, over on the Marvel side, last week or the week before that, we got the Ghost Rider origin story for Robbie Reyes.
Yeah.
And it was also the realization of what's actually going to happen with the rest of this season.
Right.
With finding out who the villain is, and pushing forward with, all right, after the events of Doctor Strange, how are we going to dive into mysticism this season?
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, I want to talk about this Ghost Rider, this spirit of vengeance that we have in Robbie Reyes.
Yeah.
It seems like he was brought to him through Johnny Blaze.
Right.
What they're explaining is Johnny Blaze saved him by offering him a spirit of vengeance and saying, take this, live, and go fight these demons.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't think that they were going to acknowledge Johnny Blaze, especially after everything, with the Nicolas Cage movies. I didn't think they'd even try to mention him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought it was just entirely separate and yeah, totally unrelated to, the previous movies, which I understand. Those are, kind of before everything was obviously not directly tied into the Marvel Universe or anything. So.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they did a good job with it. I think hats off to Shield. They're coming up with an interesting dynamic this season, and same thing. I've enjoyed that as well. I wasn't too sure how if Ghost Rider would feel a little crammed in or whatever, but him and Skye I think have had an interesting chemistry.
They fit a team dynamic pretty well.
So yeah, I think it's working. I think they've done a good job with it, and keeping Shield pretty fresh. So yeah, overall I've been happy with that show as well.
The other part of that, I feel like they've been alluding to it a little bit, and I'm hoping that they eventually do bring it in full time. The life model decoys and the AI that Fitz has been working on with the Doctor.
Right.
To me, especially after the whole Caning brothers.
Yeah.
I feel like we're due for another one to show up.
I understand. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they bring that aspect in, and then with Quake being on the run, it feels like her character is eventually going to come back to the team.
Of course,
they alluded to it in the origin episode, but it feels wholeheartedly now that she's going to give up being on the run and maybe not necessarily sign up to SHIELD, but at least help them when they ask for it, as opposed to running from them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I feel like a lot of TV shows kind of have to do the like if they just had Ghost Rider running around on his own, you know, it'd be like, okay, well, why do we care about this character? So of course they had to have her kind of go off on a separate path and you meet up with this character and kind of do some good on their own. But yeah, they've done a good job with it overall. Obviously, she won't be away from the team forever, and they're trying to catch up with her, and she's still trying to stay away from them. But yeah, I think overall, you know, sooner than later, she's going to go back to them, or they're going to finally catch up to her and convince her, or she'll convince, you know, or they'll finally convince her, like, hey, we're here for you. You know, you may not expect us to understand why you're away and, you know, why you didn't want to come back, but we're here when you need us, and obviously when you need S.H.I.E.L.D. to back you up, we'll do that. So yeah, I think it works. I think it's worked out well. I mean, sometimes when you take the main a main character out of a series, or just kind of put them separate into something else so that they're with other new characters or kind of expand upon it, doesn't always work. I like an example like Andrea in Walking Dead being, you know, obviously kind of falling for the governor and everything he said. It would be, no one would care what was happening in Woodbury if you didn't have Andrea there to
make that connection.
Right, to make that connection. Right, exactly. And that's just it. Is I think I get what they're going for, but yeah, overall, Ghost Rider has certainly been a welcome addition, and it's cool that I would like to see more of a tie into Doctor Strange and the mystic and magical side of the Marvel Universe. Now they've kind of opened that door up a little, so that'd be pretty awesome if later this season we get to see something that has to do with Sanctum. In New
you
York,
had mentioned when we were talking earlier about the Darkhold, and bringing a character in from that series.
Yeah,
the Darkhold is in this season.
Right,
that's the book that they have.
Yeah.
What character was it that they brought over?
I think it's like the main Victoria Montesi or whatever is like I think is the name of the main character from the previous series. So I think that's who it is. Like the book was very Twin Peaks-esque, and it's like, hey, here's this crazy crazy little person running around doing all this weird stuff and like tricking us into this or that, or we think we're helping someone and we're hurting someone. It was an interesting book that wasn't, say, as well received as Ghost Rider or Doctor Strange, but to me it was just, as a big Twin Peaks fan, I was like, okay, I'm all in on this weird, almost very horror kind of themed book. And yeah, they definitely had some cool stories right towards the end of Doctor Strange's run in the 90s. Like the Darkhold played a big part in that, and all the some of the major characters from that. So I believe it's Victoria Montesi is at least the character they're aiming for. I'm not exactly certain. I may be they may be calling her something else in this, but I think it's just the main person that's got a big connection to the Darkhold more than she thinks or whatever. So yeah, we'll kind of see where this goes the rest of the season. So,
and then the big reveal at the end of the episode is Robbie's uncle is the one that was corrupted by the Darkhold and tried to use it to essentially take over the world in layman's terms.
Right.
Creating matter from nothing. He tried to distort the laws of physics, and after seeing Doctor Strange, how you're not supposed to necessarily break the laws of time or physics, matter, whatever it is. Don't mess with it, because it's going to end up biting you in the ass. To me, it only screams danger later on for that character.
Right, I agree. Yeah, it's very, very rarely you don't see some sort of retribution. Whether it's directly on that character, or someone they care about, or something that they realize where they screwed up. So yeah, hands down, it's S.H.I.E.L.D.'s done a great job developing Robbie Reyes and just the whole new new niche for Ghost Rider and more magical, mystical kind of side of it. So I've enjoyed it so far. I think I've liked this arc more than the Inhuman stuff. I'm a little bought, just Inhuman's never really been my thing, or honestly most people's thing. According to Marvel keeps trying to jam it down your throat because they can't really touch the X-Men stuff in the movies or TV shows. But I don't think Inhumans is ever going to really take over that X-Men niche that they want, like the way they wanted to. It certainly isn't doing that in the comic book. So
they're trying really hard though.
So hard.
They're making. I think they're making the best calls that they can. I don't think there's any other way to approach it than the way that they are.
Right.
The only other way to do it would be to say it differently, but the way that they're doing it now is probably the smartest. And having the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. be an Inhuman like that.
Yeah.
Forcing that character, to reveal their hand and be like, all right, I am part of this. I did all this good, and you want to attack me for it? That's fine by me.
Yeah.
Just know that, if somebody's in danger, I might not be there to help. There might be another Inhuman there to help.
Right. There you go. So yeah, it's good. They're doing a good job of juggling a lot of elements up in the air all at once, and keeping it is funny that I think on one hand I think people would I love the fact that there's a TV show that can work around the movies and tie in a little bit. I would love to see a little more interaction. I'm not expecting to see Doctor Strange directly on next week's episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever, but at the same time it is awesome that they can weave in and out of the movies, and hopefully over time gradually play with more elements tying in and out of what's already happened in the movies and going from there. So yeah, hopefully they'll just keep it as fresh that way, and it's definitely a cool thing you can't see anywhere else. There's no other TV show kind of tying in a new movie, as obviously DC has a separate movie and TV universe and stuff.
Now, we didn't get a chance to do it in the last podcast because it hadn't come out yet. Walking Dead season premiere.
Right.
We finally got our big reveal with who took the axe.
Right.
We found out that it was in fact Abraham and Glenn.
Right.
There was talk and controversy that there would be two.
Right.
A lot of people, in our watch party that we were at, they gave out a sigh of relief after it was just Abraham.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely took everybody for a shock that Glenn followed right after at that point.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people out there that haven't picked up the rest of the season yet because they're still not over it, and they probably won't be.
Right.
But I feel like if they make the investment into the rest of the season, it'll pay off for them.
I agree. Yeah, I think so far. I do think it's funny because originally they were going to air this week's episode with the one about Daryl and Easy Street, everyone's favorite new song. Basically, they switched it because originally The Kingdom was going to be episode 3 with Morgan and Carol, and episode 2 was going to be Daryl at Negan's sanctuary and trying to break in there. Mm-hmm. But I think they realized, man, we need a more lighthearted episode with Ezekiel and Shiva and even Jerry.
It's kind of hard to say lighthearted with a freaking tiger.
Right, it's true, but at the same time, it's interesting seeing their reaction to how they're dealing with Negan, how they handle it, and feeding pigs, zombies and stuff like that, seeing whether they're poisoning the other guys, or at least potentially seeing how that goes. So it's interesting seeing that. So I think it's funny that for months and months and months they've had it set as the Kingdom episode was going to be the third one, and vice versa, and switching that to make it a little more lighthearted after such a dark season opener. But yeah, I thought Walking Dead did an incredible job. I kind of snoop ahead, and it seemed like more often than not, no one had seemed to be spotted. No one had spotted Michael Cudlitz or Stephen Yeun on set for since basically May. There was a lot of rumors that they were filming stuff with Stephen Yeun the following week. So a lot of people were like, there was a lot of rumors that it might have just been Abraham. Everyone almost was certain Abraham was the one killed, mm-hmm. But there were so many reasons people thought it wasn't Stephen Yeun, even though he's been filming something in Korea for 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
But sure enough, when it all came, it was like, oh good, it's Abraham. Okay, at least it's not Glenn. That's good. And then it was like, oh my God. On one hand, I mean, it's the thing is, I wonder. It's funny that so many people, even on Talking Dead, they were like, oh, how many of you blame Daryl for Glenn's death? And most, 2/3 or 3/4 of the audience said, oh no, we don't. And I'm like, well, I do. If he hadn't stepped up, right?
I wouldn't blame him. I would say that Glenn's outburst,
right,
when they originally captured them, and he started
Right, he
pointing
was
at Maggie.
the first one that jumped out of line. Right.
I would say that stuck out in the back of his mind.
course.
And be like, I'm going to come back to that later.
Right. Yeah. But again, had Daryl
jumping,
jumped,
I think Daryl jumping out reminded him, oh shit, I have to beat up the Asian kid.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean that's just it. But at the same time, I think if Daryl hadn't made a move, I think it was over and done. And he said, "Oh, anyone jumps that line, there'll be consequences." Sure enough, what did Daryl think he was going to fight 150 people? All of a sudden, it's like, come on, he's wounded to begin with. So on one hand, it's I don't think it'll happen, but I think it would be interesting if the end of the season or something, once Daryl's free and anything, he goes to Maggie for some sort of help, and she kind of like pushes him aside or promises something and then doesn't live up. I don't think she's going to literally kill him or watch him die or not help him if she has the opportunity. But at the same time, I wonder if there'll be some sort of grudge of like if Daryl hadn't reacted the way he did, it might have Glenn might still be alive. So I do think that 2 deaths after such build-up of 6 months of everyone waiting to see what happens, if it had just been Abraham, even though Abraham definitely has the best dialogue in the show and, he'll be missed, obviously his death was overshadowed by Glenn, who's been there since, the voice at the end of the first episode. And just, like, it's insane to see a character who's been around that long. Even when he died in the comics, it was still the biggest holy shit moment in, probably in Walking Dead history, even beating out the end of the prison arc and some of the other stuff that's happened since. But anyone that thinks every week's going to be a gore fest where Negan's bashing in a bunch of heads is mistaken. So it's not going to get any gorier than it got then. But at the same time, what are you going to do half-assed? Like, oh, he taps him on the head once and that's it. It's like, nope, Negan was there to make a point. 6 months of build-up. Obviously, it was excessive violence. And I thought it was funny in the recent episode of American Horror Story, there's also someone's head being bashed in, which might have been just as savage as the Negan and Lucille moments. So it's pretty wild. But yeah, Walking Dead, I think it's good. I think this season, that the Daryl episode at Sanctuary was good, and I think there's some people kind of worried that it'll take something away from the comics, but I think the thing you're looking for in the comics is still going to be coming up rather sooner than later, where you'll still get to see some cool moments with some other characters, so their storyline hasn't been taken away or anything. So,
do you think them pushing the boundaries, especially with the excess of gore and all that, is it something that because I know in the comics it's always been a lot of
right,
adult themes,
right,
more so because they can get away with it, but pushing the boundary with how much blood and how much entrails and all
right,
that, how much further can you go?
I mean, like I said, that is the harshest. That was at issue 100 of the comics, and they're up to 160 now, and there's been some disgusting moments since then. Yeah. But nothing is going to top in the TV show. I don't think they will do anything that will be as dark as what we just saw the season premiere. I mean, that is literally, if it's not the darkest, it's one of the darkest things I've ever watched on TV or even in movies. And I watch almost horror movies and stuff exclusively, like a crazy amount. So it's definitely dark and it's harsh watching something like that happen. But again, Negan was there to beat his point into these people, and the point is, I mean, even the scene later where Rick almost cut off Carl's hand, and Carl's like, "Do it if that's what it takes to save everyone's life." And it's like, holy shit! Watching him finally break Rick to get till he gets it. This is your new way of life. If you don't like it, we'll just kill you all right now. I mean, this is it. You work for us, and if you're not going to do that, considering Rick and his friends went in and slaughtered 40 of Negan's people, I mean, a few on the road and a few more on the road and a few, several in the middle of the night while they're sleeping. It's not like Rick's hands aren't bloody. He killed a bunch of people, and even though they were working for Negan, it was just the way of life. They're literally not all monsters, and it's that Rick and his group and Team Family are going to do what they need to do to survive, and of course that's the group you've been following. But you look at it from some other angle. Here's a bunch of jerks that broke in the middle of the night and started stabbing people in the head while they're sleeping. That's not exactly a great thing either. So, for me, I thought it was justified. Negan definitely, of course it's going to be the most disgusting thing we're ever going to see on the show. But yeah, for me, the Walking Dead premiere, I don't really know anyone that freaked out enough to go, "Oh, I'm not really watching it," and then hasn't watched it, because those same people were like, "Man, this episode with Daryl was really interesting." It's like, okay, well then you obviously made it through, and yeah, don't worry about Negan's weekly, Lucille beating people to death. It's not going to be a weekly thing. It's going to be a big deal. Negan still got some interesting moments coming up, and his dialogue is oh my God, it's harsh, man. They for not being able to use the F word, they have gone pretty damn far with it. And even some of the stuff they said just in this week's episode was like, oh my God, they are definitely not pulling any punches. So it's kind of crazy. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes, but sure enough, I think Walking Dead season 6 honestly was probably my favorite season so far, and obviously I would have liked the cliffhanger to have been resolved at the time, but I thought the fact they came back 6 months later and had it be a bigger deal than just the one character having to be Abraham, and then people thought Abraham was safe, and then Glenn, I thought it worked, and so far season 7 has got a lot of cool stuff coming up to what should be an incredible rest of the season, and season 8 should be even better at this rate, so a lot of good stuff coming up.
I feel like if they would have let Abraham die in the season finale and then came back right at the top of season 7 and killed Glenn, it would have played off a lot better. I feel like I like the false sense of security that they put out there.
I agree.
But I feel like you could have accomplished the same thing while also leaving a satisfying ending for season 6 instead of the cliffhanger.
I agree. Everyone was furious with the cliffhanger. There had been a lot of rumors about a month before it aired, and then 2 or 3 weeks before it aired, it was like pretty much confirmed by all the spoiler sites and everything, and everyone was like, oh my God, people are going to be so mad, and like the joke is like, oh, well, Negan didn't need to say the F word because all the fans said it when they were so mad at the cliffhanger, so that's the whole thing is, on one hand, obviously, if they pull that every season and they pulled that all the time and went too far, same thing as when they made it look like Glenn was dead and then it was like, holy shit, they obviously had an out and had a way around it, but at the same time, if they pulled that or crazy cliffhanger of that level every season, it would get real old. But in 6 years, you got to try new things, keep it fresh. And sure enough, for me, season 6, everything with Carol taking down all the wolves and all these other crazy moments, and just like 10 things happening at once. I'm a sucker for the bottle episodes, or the episodes where it focuses on just a few characters. I know we have an episode coming up real soon that's going to focus just on Heath and Tara. Heath especially isn't that well known in the comics yet, and but yeah, that. I know some of the people on the spoiler boards are kind of dreading it, but for me, I'm all for focusing on some smaller characters leading to some bigger things. So yeah, I think it'll be cool going forward, seeing what else is out there outside of the walls. So I'm excited for the rest of the season, and I understand why they went with the cliffhanger. That sure enough, everyone was mad at the time because we want that immediate satisfaction. But sure enough, we got millions of people watching as soon as it came back to see it, and it got everyone in. I'm very impressed that I didn't see 20 people going, oh, what, you guys ruined Walking Dead for me? It's like, you had to know everyone would be talking about this the minute it happened.
I saw 5 people complain about it, but those 5 people, I know that 1, they don't have cable, and 2, they're also the same people that complain about everything else.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong, I see both sides of the spoiler thing, and it's one thing if you're
when you have that much time to prepare for it, if you can't get out there to find somewhere to watch it, or
there are
ask
several
somebody,
places
hey, can I come
find
over?
It, whether it's a friend's house or a restaurant or a bar or something, there are places out there that are watching this, and if you have 6 months knowing this giant cliffhanger is going to be resolved. I can't feel sorry for you when at 9:30 you're on Facebook knowing the world is talking about this. The whole world can't wait till Thursday or Saturday next week when it's convenient for you to watch it. I'm sorry, you can't ask the whole world to hold back. On an average episode of Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, some big surprise happens. Okay, sure, you don't want that spoiled. But guess what? People are going to talk about it, and you can't. I think it's ridiculous to ask the whole world to wait forever. Oh, well, 2 weeks from now, me and my boyfriend or girlfriend are going to watch this and that, so please don't talk about this for 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about something else. This is what me and the other 95% of people that knew this was happening and are watching it now. So, yeah, I can't feel that, understand the total butthurt people that freak out over, oh, well, someone ruined the finale for me, the season premiere for me. Really? The one you knew 6 months ago was going to be this giant thing? It's up to you to make sure, or, I don't know, it's crazy, stay off Facebook for a few minutes, or turn off your Messenger or whatever, your notifications for just a few hours. If you're going to watch it the next morning when you wake up, that's fine. Do not,
You can go 6 hours without social media interactions.
I know, what a crazy concept. Like, if I'm pretty sure your friends that are talking to you about it are the same friends you could have gone over to their house and watched it, found a way. You knew something big was going to happen. It's not like this came out of nowhere. So, yeah, I never understand don't spoil spoil it. Oh, it's convenient. I'm gonna watch it a month from now. I've got people every once in a while to say, I'm like, I'm behind, and I'm like, well, how far behind? They're like, I'm on season 3. I'm like, of a show that's on season 7. I'm like, seriously? And you're worried about spoilers? Like, okay, let me wait 4 years till you can catch up on the show. Like, I don't understand that mentality. That's a little too egocentrical to, I don't know, just kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. Now you had mentioned Game of Thrones, so I'm going to bring it up.
Right.
We've had set photos leak.
Right. Yeah. People are going crazy over what's out there. So.
Daenerys Targaryen is meeting Jon Snow.
Right. Yeah.
The fire and ice have finally come together.
True.
Whether it be take on the Lannisters right off the bat, or whether it's to form an alliance to, protect the realm from the walkers, when the wall falls down.
Right.
Whatever it is, these two characters that are family, we know that they're family now.
Right.
They are going to be meeting, and they are going to have some of the most interesting interactions that we've seen.
Right, yeah. People have been waiting for this for years, and it's one of those things that, sure enough, the fan base is going crazy over. So some people think some of it's, they don't know how much of what's out there is actually really leaked and how much of it's just fan speculation as to what,
photos,
what seems to make the most sense. But yeah, sure enough, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
The photos that I've seen from set, they are definitely interacting and having a conversation.
Of course, right, yeah.
Also, photos that I've seen were Tyrion meeting both of them, I believe.
Yeah.
Again. And he's also another character that they think might be somewhere in that family lineage.
Right. Gotcha.
But there's definitive proof now that these characters are going to meet, and what's going to happen with the next big battle that we're going to see is going to pretty much decide how they go about saving the world of Game of Thrones, how they go to save Westeros.
Yeah.
The one big fan speculation that if it's true, holy shit, awesome.
Right. Yeah.
They have the budget for it.
Right.
Great. It looks like one of the dragons might be dying.
Right. In
that, it becomes a wraith for the White Walker King.
Right.
Dragon breathing blue flames with a fucking talking skeleton
right.
riding him.
That's pretty harsh. Yeah, it's definitely a pretty scary image. So,
if that ends up being like the final image, of what is it, season 7, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. If
that's the final image you see on season 7, you bet your ass season 8's going to be epic.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they know there's only so many episodes left. Obviously, a lot of people would love that. They've talked about spin-offs and some other stuff going on, but
I've heard talk that they might do one movie, but that's they haven't necessarily said, hey, here's a date that we're probably going to do something.
Right.
So it's still talking.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But sure enough, people can't get enough Game of Thrones, and it's one of those shows that's just continued to deliver, and everyone's loved it since day one. So all the spoilers everyone's excited about. Like I said, I know there's some speculation that it's just, hey, look, here's a few pictures, and here's someone else that just leaked, what would make the most logical sense and what fans want to see. So I hope it lives up to the hype. I know I've certainly read some.
There's some crazy theories out there.
Right, of course, yeah. There's some things. I mean, there's few season finales or whatever of Walking Dead where someone came up with, oh, well, here's the thing, and I've read it, I was like, oh my god, it sounds amazing, and then what happens is nothing like that, and I'm like, damn, the fan theory was better than the actual episode. You never know what's going to happen, but sure enough, I think you'll see most or all of what people are excited about, and everyone's definitely talking about it. So it's going to be good as they continue to kind of wrap up one of the most popular shows of the last few decades. So,
have you been watching Westworld?
I haven't. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I haven't had a chance to dive into it yet.
I haven't had a chance to dive into it either.
Right? Yeah, I've heard I read a little of the theories, which is kind of weird reading theories about a show I don't even watch. But sure enough, people are like, well, so and so is really this person, and this has happened, and why does the can say this and not? And over here it has a logo apart, and over here it has it together, and it's crazy. But I love the fact that. Your average TV show at this point to catch a fan base isn't just a standard, hey, procedural, death of the week, and this is what happens. there's shows like that are popular, but sure enough, you need the next, to be the next Lost or the next Walking Dead or the next Game of Thrones or whatever. You have to have that hook and that holy shit moment, and you've got to have something unlike anything else we've seen. Westworld is definitely one of those that's pushing the boundaries, doing some interesting stuff. I've heard a little about some crazy stuff in there that proves it is definitely HBO on HBO only can get away with what they're doing. You couldn't play it on a network or even some of the other cable networks. But sure enough, Westworld's one of those shows. Just a lot of buzz, a lot of interesting stuff, great cast. So I haven't dove into it yet, but at some point I probably will. But yeah, everyone I know that watches it has really, really enjoyed it so far.
And then I saw. We talked about the TV announcement. Movie that I saw last night that's going to be getting a release soon. Nickelodeon's making an Invader Zim movie.
That's awesome, right? Yeah, very, very cool. Nickelodeon, it's funny that Invader Zim wasn't around longer, considering I'm a little biased as we have a giant Invader Zim and Gur in our store, like a painting on the wall, but and I was lucky enough to meet Jonah Vasquez a few times at San Diego Con way back in the day. We've been selling Johnny the Homicidal Maniac comics since 1995, 94 when they first came out, way before they were ever at Hot Topic and everywhere else. But and yeah, that's a book we've sold thousands of, just unbelievable amount of copies, more than any other like comedy or indie comic. It's insane. But Invader Zim was one of those shows. It was funny that right in the credits it was created by Jonah Vasquez, and yet sure enough, kids start Googling that and going, hey, do you have Johnny Homicidal Maniac? And I was like, well, yeah, but I can't sell it to an 8-year-old without the parents' permission. Actually, I have a pretty funny story about that. So this is sure enough, Invader Zim, whatever, 2001, 2002, something like that. So 2002, probably, the show's been on a year. People start figuring out, hey, the same guy did Johnny. And sure enough, had a few kids come in. I was like, you really can't sell this to you without if your parents are really laid back, that's fine. My parents never cared what I read, but so I sell this 8-year-old kid or 8-ish-year-old kid comes in and goes, I want to buy this Johnny the Homicidal Maniac thing. I was like, I really need the parents' permission. If they don't care, I don't care. I just don't want to be that guy that sells something inappropriate to a kid because of language and violence and whatever. So the kid leaves, comes back inside with his 13-year-old brother, and I'm like, again, 16, 17, 18, you're fine. 13, still probably a little younger than I would need a parent's permission. You really got to get a parent to come in. So the mom comes in, or I should say, opens the door, cigarette in her hand, doesn't even come in the store, and just goes, just sell them the fucking comic? And I'm like, okay, I guess the language in here is not going to be an issue of the excessive violence. Okay, fine, here you go. Here's your Johnny the Homicidal Maniac graphic novel. At least I know this mom won't come in and go, how dare you sell this to my kid when it's got language in it? So sure enough, so just sell them the fucking comic was one of the funniest things anyone's ever said to me at my store. So sure enough, to my knowledge, I don't think the kid's become a serial killer or anything because of it. So I think overall it worked out, and that was probably the least of the issues in that family. So but sure enough, we did definitely have some 10, 12 year old kids coming in going, do you have Johnny Homicidal Maniac comics? I do, but I'm gonna need a parent to say it's okay before I can sell it to you. I'm not selling this to a 12-year-old or 10-year-old without any parents' permission. So I'm excited about Invader Zim comic. I think a movie that I just saw that and was very, very excited about that. Definitely my favorite Nickelodeon cartoon of all time, and just everything about it, from just how absurd it was and just the outlandish characters and situations. The Invader Zim comics have actually been great. Normally, comics based on TV shows are honestly terrible. There's a few exceptions. Invader Zim, Rick and Morty, even Bob's Burgers is pretty good. But most of the comics based on TV shows and cartoons are just shitty, watered-down versions of the same show and characters you love. Just a quick cash grab. But Invader Zim and Rick and Morty are the two breakout shows that we still sell dozens of copies of each of the issues, even 14, 15 issues into Invader Zim, and it's awesome. Jonah Vasquez co-wrote a few. Eric Trueheart, who was the other executive producer and head writer for the show, he wrote several of the issues, and a lot of the creators straight from, even some of the storyboard artists have drawn some of the issues. So Invader Zim comics definitely really good. So I'm definitely excited about a movie and the idea of seeing those characters and some new stories on the big screen. So it should be good.
And you had mentioned Rick and Morty. That comes back the first week of December.
Oh yeah, people are super excited. That's one of those things. Justin Roiland, just if you Google his name, anything he does is crazy. I still think it's hysterical. He still has the same IMDb photo, which is what looks like him with shit on his face from a movie he made where he was like some crazy like homeless guy or whatever.
If I find that picture, I'm using it.
It's on IMDb, and it says this is the official IMDb picture for Justin Roiland. You cannot use any other picture except this one. This is the official press picture for Justin Roiland. Use this picture or nothing is what it says under his IMDb description. I'm like, holy shit, what a nut! And I'm like, okay, I assume that was funny when you were like a nobody, but now that you're like a big, big guy, and you still have that. As of a month ago, that was still a picture that was on IMDb. So, but yeah, if you Google anything, Justin Roiland has been cracking me up for 15 years. He had the smallest little walk-ons in Community and Sarah Silverman's show, and just he could literally walk into the room, not say a word, and I was cracking up. I think he is just the funniest damn guy. If you Google and can find the wonder of Operation Kitten Calendar, it is probably the funniest 15 minutes of 5 episodes, 3 minutes each, and you probably cannot find anything that'll make you laugh harder for 15 minutes straight than Operation Kitten Calendar, parts 1 through 5. It's somewhere on YouTube where you can find it all in one big thing. Just a quick one-off line to show you his. Obviously, Rick and Morty. If you're a fan, you know his sense of humor. But it's making fun of all the shitty reality shows of like The Apprentice and stuff like that, where they dub in things they think of later and that are clever and whatever. And it's about the guy who took the hang in there photo of the cat. So years and years ago, and just like the way that the characters are treated in there is unbelievably funny. But the one-off line, if I had to use it to wrap it up, is. Previously on Operation Kitten Calendar, a bunch of weak assholes were kicked off for sucking. I was like, Jesus Christ, like, that's so much harsh in a few words. So, but yeah, the show is it's actually funny that it was starring Justin Roiland and written by him and Dan Harmon, also from Rick and Morty, also from Community. So, some of my favorite creators, and then same thing, Sarah Silverman, her show, Rob Schrab, who did Scud, and Dan Harmon wrote some La Cosa Nostroid, having those creators and all of those guys, anything Channel 101 or Acceptable TV that they did, so damn funny. So yeah, there's a lot of really, really funny stuff in Justin Roiland, including the less appropriate than Rick and Morty, Doc and Marty, MHARTI, which is the original short that obviously based on Back to the Future that Doc and Marty were, and it makes Rick and Morty look a little tame because it's pretty out there, but it's a 5-minute short of just the crazy animation that Justin Roiland would do with the creators I just mentioned, a few others. Kelsey Abbott is his longtime girlfriend. Just some really, really funny stuff. So yeah, a lot of anything you find by him, any of his previous stuff, Acceptable TV or Channel 101, you'll always be entertained by. So you can go down the rabbit hole of the internet and see what other Justin Roiland stuff. You'll always have something to laugh at.
And then to wrap up the night, I'm surprised we didn't talk about it yet. Comic books,
right.
Just overall. I haven't been in a while to get books. I need to stop by soon. I need to pick up Wacky Raceland.
Right.
I've always been a fan of Wacky Racers, so it's like
right.
I need to finish that.
Cool.
And then Titans Rebirth, and I think I have Green Lanterns
right
too that I need to find.
Cool. Yeah. Rebirth stuff's still killing it. I mean, DC is just on fire with the Rebirth stuff. Even we're at issue 10 now of Batman and Aquaman and Superman, and it's hysterical that some of these, like Aquaman 10, which before the relaunch we were selling a handful of Aquaman, maybe 10 or 12 copies. I'm still selling 40 copies of Aquaman, 4 times what it was selling before, which is insane. At not just issue 1 or 2, which we were selling 100 or 80 or 90 of, but consistently selling 5 months in, 6 months in, and we're still selling 40 copies of a book I couldn't give away before. So it's awesome that so many people stuck with it. Books like Superman and Detective and Action, same thing, we were selling pretty low, 10, 15, 20 copies before the relaunch, and these books are all selling 60 copies, 70 copies now for me. Titans, the Titans and Teen Titans books weren't so great before the relaunch, and Titans is one of those, and my favorite group of all time. We're still selling 75 or 80 copies of Titans, which is incredible. So I love that DC has done such a great job bringing in a ton of new people. They got their interest, and that $2.99 price point has kept them coming in. Even bi-weekly books, very few people are having any price resistance. So Marvel's got some cool new stuff coming out with Rebirth. I'm glad there's a Jessica Jones title again, written by Bendis and drawn by Michael Gaydos, the original creative team that did the first series that the TV series is based on. Yeah, it's cool. There's a new Cage book, although it's very lighthearted. It's actually the creator of Samurai Jack and Dexter's Lab is the one that did it, so it's pretty interesting. But it's funny that people come in and go, "Wait, this is Cage? What the hell? Like, I want a Cage that's like hardcore, like the show, like pretty dark and crazy."
I want Coffee Cage,
right? Yeah, this is a character that you know. It's funny seeing this lighthearted version that I guess a few years ago the creator started it, and it just finally got wrapped up just in time to put out now. So it's kind of a weird thing where the TV version on Netflix looks so dramatically different than the lighthearted version we're getting in this comic, but that one's done pretty well. Champions has done okay. New Avengers has done okay. I mean, there's too many books, honestly, and it's a little crowded, but there's some good stuff in Marvel now. They've got Champions is off to a good start with some with some interesting takes on the younger characters in the Marvel universe. I wish we were selling more copies, but I think the $4.99 price point kind of scares people away. So I wish Marvel would kind of re-examine that and think it through and long-term ramifications of that. But Civil War still hasn't ended. It's been interesting, but still gradually dragging along. Supposedly December 28th is when we'll see the final issue. If it ships by the end of the year, I'll be floored. I think it'll be first or second week of January, as every other Marvel event. Even though Invincible Iron Man, starring Riri Williams, the new character, it tells you basically what happened to Tony Stark. Right in this week's issue, full 2.5, 3 months before we actually get the ending of Civil War. So Marvel's really got to put on an event where they have issue 6 drawn or 7 drawn before number 1 ships, so it can actually ship when it's supposed to, because this is the 4th time in a row that this has happened with their events where, hey, here comes October, we're relaunching all our stuff with new number 1s, and you don't have the previous event
Summer
even done.
Event
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's sad that they're already, hey, here's IVX here in Inhumans vs. X-Men, which, again, people I think are going to be scared away by $4.99 and even $5.99 issue 0 and issue 1, which is just $5-6 is too much for a comic book when you can get 2 books for for $6 from DC. So yeah, Marvel definitely has some good content, but they've got to look at their price point. They've got to think it through, and we'll see what happens. So we're definitely seeing price resistance like we've never seen before, and it's really hurting them when their movies are at an all-time high. They've got to do some things to fix their comic universe and do something to bring in that fan base that they're not doing right now. So we'll see how it goes.
I always ask this because it's my favorite thing that I've seen in a comic book in a long time.
Right.
The whole idea of the Watchmen
right.
involved in the DC universe. Has there been any revelations regarding that?
Almost every issue with Titans has definitely had at least a little one-off line by Kadabra or something going, oh, blah, 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 he's going to be so mad. Oh, and I've said too much, So they really haven't done anything too crazy. I'm still not sold on Bleeding Cool's theory and a few other places on the internet thinking that Mr. Oz is Ozymandias. I don't buy that, other than the name being similar. Just because I don't see him as a behind-the-scenes skulking around in a cape character that looks like Desaad more than Adrian Voight. So I think that Dr. Manhattan, I think they're really going to slowly build to it, and I think we're going to see a Jeff Johns like DC versus DC Universe versus Watchmen versus Dr. Manhattan. I think we're going to get that series. I just think it's still 1.5 years away. I think they've got a 2-year plan, and it's not going to be, at the end of 2 years, that's the whole thing. But I think they're not going to race into the Watchmen thing and resolve it all in 6 months.
It'll be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I think they've got a 2-year plan for all the books, and there's books like Titans. It definitely that Mr. Oz character did it looked like Robin died, so characters in the DC universe think that Tim Drake just died. He didn't. He was actually teleported as all these robots or droids are kind of shooting at him. And basically, he's getting too close. So I took him off the map, put him off to the side. That Oz character also took Doomsday and some other stuff going on. So he's definitely having an interesting impact behind the scenes. But I don't think we're gonna. I think probably by the end of that Justice League Suicide Squad 6-issue weekly series that's coming up, I think by the end of that we'll see at least the next big hint as to what's going on with the Watchmen, but I don't think it's going to be an overnight thing that gets solved right away. Flash is playing up a little bit with it, and yeah, Titans, and then a little bit of mention in Batman and Detective, but overall they're not bombarding you or forcing you to read 500 different books to understand it. So I think DC's done a great job on slowly but surely building to it. And then, sure enough, I think that'll be the next big thing Jeff Johns will write, will be the DC Universe versus Dr. Manhattan or Watchmen, that they're kind of building up to slowly. But so far, so good. Fans aren't sick of it or over it yet. So as long as they put it out there, keep putting out enough clues at the right pace, I think we'll be on the right track.
All right. Well, I think we're just about ready to wrap up. Any last minute things you want to talk about?
No,
Any plugs you want to do?
Yeah, we're happy to have we have a few things going on in November. We we're doing mini free comic day this week with 5 free comics, a bunch of artists drawing free sketches. End of the month we have Small Business Saturday going on November 26th, where we're going to have all sorts of stuff on sale, bunch of stuff, graphic novels, toys, all sorts of stuff marked down to $5, a bunch of shirts marked down as low as 10 or $5, just blowing some stuff out that's been here a while. It's a lot of good stuff, just some of it we're overstocked on. We kind of hit our customer base, so we're giving people some good deals, realizing, wait, we have 6 more that's upstairs? Okay, let's make some people happy and give them some good deals. So Small Business Saturday, not just here, but just several businesses in our area or wherever you are. Please support small businesses. We're always very thankful for all the community support we see, and so far this year has been the best year we've ever had in our 23-year history. So, but yeah, we definitely couldn't do it without an awesome local community that gets behind our events and all the stuff we do. So yeah, we're always happy to do that. Of course, every week we have trivia over Broken Barrel, and that's always a lot of fun. I cannot believe we had 70+ people for Gilmore Girls, which is the craziest thing. I thought we would have 10 or 12 people from a few, friends of our friend Sarah was like, hey, can we do this? I'll write it. I was like, sure, why not? And oh my God,
power of fandom.
It was nuts. And it was literally 10 guys and 60 women, and it was half the people that were there had never been there before for trivia, and half of those people had never even been in Broken Barrel. So I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So it was definitely fun that we were able to get so many new people. Everyone had a great time, and even Broken Barrel was like, wait, you're done by 8:45? I thought with this many people it would be drag on until 9:30, but there wasn't a whole lot of arguing. It wasn't like Game of Thrones where it's like, well, they're alive in the show, but in the comic, in the show is
Gilmore Girls is very consistent with their characters.
Exactly. So yeah, it was pretty funny, but yeah, sure enough, it was insane. But I couldn't believe, I never thought in a million years we'd see 70 people for that. I think that's more than we saw for the last Walking Dead or some of the other big things. We have Harry Potter coming up. We have on the 20th, on the 20, and the 26th, 27th, whatever. We have Disney coming up on the 27th. So yeah, there's some big stuff coming up, and then doing a few more big and small. We kind of mix it up. But yeah, keep an eye on our page, or you can also check Broken Barrel's Facebook page now. We have all the events on there as well, so that's worked out pretty good. Having it where you can see it on either site. So yeah, we're always happy to do that, and we're always just trying to do more community events and happy to do whatever we can. So it always works out, always great time.
All right. And then do you want to plug the store real quick before we sign off?
Yeah, by all means. If you haven't already, please check out Famous Faces and Funnies. You can find us on Facebook at FFF Comics, as in Famous Faces and Funnies, FFF Comics, that is. And we're always doing as much as we can in the community, and just thankful for an ever-expanding nerd community that we're so happy to have such a local, so much local support. So thank you, and yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks again, Rick, for coming on. That's been episode 28. It looks like I'm going to do 2 more episodes this year, unless we can squeeze one in December.
Yeah, cool.
I'll be doing 2 live podcasts at Holiday Matsuri in Orlando.
Oh, cool.
And I'll be releasing those Christmas Day and New Year's Eve, just so that way, wrap up the last 2 big events of the year with podcasts, and let everybody know that, hey, next year we're going to be starting over again, going even bigger, even better, hopefully. Just putting out as much content as possible. So
sounds good. Awesome.
Can't wait to have you back on soon.
Cool. Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.